This is Dr. Chris's radio horror program, 91.3 FM, WCOW. If you're not catching this recorded interview live when it plays, hopefully you're catching it on the Radio Horror YouTube channel with a lot of cool pictures so you know what we're talking about. Tonight on the show, returning to the show from a few years ago, we had him on for the Thing art book. This time, it's the Ghostbusters Art Book, a collection of ectoplasmic illustrations celebrating the first Ghostbuster film, the 1980s comedy classic. Steve Hovecki, the director of operations for Printed in Blood. Thank you for coming back on the show with me, Steve.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
I want to get right out of the way. My favorite illustration in the book, you can tell me yours unless it's like children, you can't really pick one, is by Dan Sheeran. I love this poster-style image of everything that you love about the movie.
Yeah, that's. I remember when Dan sent that one in. I remember opening that one up and just kind of going, "Yeah, that's awesome."
There is so much awesome in the movie. There's another picture. I can't find it right this second, but there's a very subtle image of the bridge that you cross over in New York, whatever the name of that bridge is. And
Steve Thomas.
What was that?
Steve Thomas is the artist.
Right, and then right in the middle of the bridge, you see the Zool building.
Yep.
Or Gozer building, whatever.
You just see the lights kind of the Ecto-1 on the bridge too.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. I caught that very late on. But this is a fantastic collection of artists. A lot of these artists returned from the Thing book and Stranger Things.
Yes. Yeah. I don't have that hard count in front of me, but yeah, we have a lot of guys who we go out to our database for these projects grows with every new project we start, and so we go out and there's a lot of artists that we've worked with who are in all four books that we have out so far, and a good portion of them are going to be in our next book, which will be out in the fall.
Do you have a favorite piece of art in the book?
For this particular project, I was just trying to think when you said that, and as a rule, I generally do not publicly lay claim to a favorite image just because. In this book, I don't actually think I do, to be honest with you. There's a ton of great ones that really stand out to me, but I don't think that there was one I got specifically that when I received it, I was just like, oh my God, there's nothing else in this book that's going to top that. And I think that's more about, where Ghostbusters stands in my sort of love of film. I love Ghostbusters. Don't get me wrong. I don't dislike the film or think it's mediocre or anything like that. It absolutely deserves its spot in filmic history, and with good reason. It's I just watched this movie again probably, not a week or two ago. I happened to catch it on TV, and it's still, no matter how many times you've seen it, it's still hysterical at all the right points. Every character is spot on. Even all the little side characters. It's great stuff. That said, the Thing holds a very special place in my heart for a number of different reasons. So when we were going through the artwork for that book, there was one or two pieces that stood out for me specifically because something that the artists had done to involving design and sort of conveying a message along with everything else they were doing really made a piece stand out to me. There is a piece in the Thing book that I do lay claim as being my favorite. I don't really talk about it just because, I do podcasts and I have a lot of these artists we've become friends, and, I don't need to see the need to ruffle feathers.
Completely understand.
That said, there's a lot of great stuff in this book.
There is. I just came across. I mean, again, I haven't gone through this book page by page yet. I'm waiting to do a review with that and hopefully plug in the audio snippets from the various artists as I did the last one, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But I just came across Tim Laddie or Lady. I believe this is the artist for the IDW comic books that took place after the second movie and incorporated many aspects of the Ghostbusters franchise, like Carly from Extreme Ghostbusters.
Tim Laddie, correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Who was God when they made that when I heard they were doing the all-female Ghostbuster movie, all I kept saying was, I don't care, that's fine, but you better put Carly from the Extreme Ghostbusters in it. And they didn't. And I hate that movie for that up to my top 10 reasons I hate that movie. That is number one.
Oh, boy.
And we're not going to get into the other reasons why I hate that movie because that you can go back to 2016 when that movie came out and you can listen to my review of it then. So moving on to happier things.
Yeah, I only have one reason not to like that movie. So my reasoning is much more simple.
What's that?
It's not funny.
No, it's not. In fact, I was sitting next to a couple who had just gotten married. And they were like, we're on our way to our honeymoon and we had to stop by and see this movie. And I was like, cool. What'd you think of it? That was terrible. And this was a couple of women, by the way. I was like, okay.
I mean, the women aspect of it carries no weight either way with me. I think that's one of the most disappointing things about it for me personally, is the fact that all of the women involved in that film are so off the charts talented in their own rights, and I guess I lay the blame at the feet of the writers for that, because really I just feel like they didn't take the time to figure out the chemistry they needed to in order to make those four personalities be successful together on screen.
Right.
I think that was really the downfall of that film. I mean, you can't particularly blame Paul Feig. I think Feig is an incredible director with a very highly respected body of work. He's worked with a number of those actresses previously. I feel like at some point that, and I don't know. I mean, I wasn't on set, so it's impossible to tell. But I just feel like that. Whenever I watch movies that have, questionable dialogue or the setups and the takedowns on jokes aren't very good, I always wonder about, like, when they're shooting this stuff, it's like when the actors or actresses, kind of hit their marks on those scenes and they're just and I understand they're doing it multiple times, so I'm sure by the 17th time you do a joke, it doesn't matter what the joke is, it's just not funny anymore, so you kind of lose perspective on how someone hearing it cold is going to hear it. But I have to wonder, with all the talent that was involved there, that somebody didn't look at that and been like, some of this isn't that great. But that's a different story.
I did find we had talked off the air before we began the one of the I think you said one of two images from Ghostbusters 2 of the Scoleri brothers, which is pretty awesome.
Yes,
and it's also the only other thing that I really wish would have been in here is the various versions of Vigo the Carpathian, who's a painting, an image himself. It's like. Yeah. The villain of the second movie is a piece of art, and he's not in the Ghostbuster Art Book, but I understand why. I just that just seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, when we kind of got redirected towards doing it as an anniversary project rather than just a franchise sort of companion piece,
right?
It made more sense for all the artists to kind of veer back towards the classic, the original film that kind of got them all into it, than to go into any of the sequels, or and a lot of our artists are young enough that some of the first experiences they had was real Ghostbusters, and then they kind of backdoored back to the original films, and so that's they had that sort of bit. And we did have one piece come in that had it was actually kind of interestingly done. It had a very nice pencil renderings of the guys from the film, and then in front of that it had their sort of the versions of them from drawn very, very cartoon style of the real Ghostbusters, kind of layered on top of them.
Yeah, I kind of see that in a couple images. I was like, ooh, that looks very real Ghostbusters-ish.
And
Especially the images of Slimer.
that particular image got denied by Sony. So.
What's the name of the Sony Ghostbuster called team?
Ghost Core.
Okay. So are you confirming or denying that you're sitting on a bunch of artwork unused from real Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 that you could make a whole other book out of?
No, what I'm saying is we have a chunk of images that were not approved by Ghost Core for inclusion in the book. So there is more artwork out there. It's just we don't have the ability to ourselves publish it or promote it or release it. You'd kind of have to go out to the artist, and of course you have no way of knowing what artist created work that wasn't accepted. I know some of the artists, when they got the notifications that they weren't approved and weren't going to be in the book, they did post their pieces anyway, but it's not something that we can just go to. We can't just go to our website and go, hey, here's all the artwork that wasn't approved by Ghost Core. We can't do that.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. Maybe we'll see it. In some way. I mean, you mentioned some of the artists. Obviously, if they own their art, they can kind of do what they want with it. But maybe we'll see it in some light somehow. There is a Ghostbuster movie that's been pushed back to 2021, so we'll see.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised that.
And I'm sure they want a merchandising
that all
machine.
Comes around that. All these guys are going to be reposting pictures of the book and their art next year around the time the movie comes out. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a chunk of those guys who got pieces that were denied inclusion in the book. They post their pieces as well. So you may see a whole bunch. And listen, it's a whole year later. You're going to have a whole slew of artists doing, even more new Ghostbuster images for it then when the movie finally does come out.
Right, definitely. I always cite, as much as I love the original movie, of course, and you mentioned it just now, the real Ghostbusters, I will hold that cartoon up above so many other cartoons alongside the greatest cartoons of all time, Batman the Animated Series, the original Looney Tunes.
Now you got to be careful.
Now I got to be careful. And I just got done reading, and I don't know if have you read Becoming Superman?
No.
It's J. Michael Straczynski's biography.
Oh, okay.
And forewarning, if you are easily triggered by anything horrible in like real life, bad crap happening, i.e. kind of stuff that you see in the news lately, do not read at least the first maybe 20 chapters of this book. Skip ahead to when he's in Hollywood.
Oh no, but listen, Straczynski is a known quantity. I mean, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't.
No, but there is definitely some seriously hardcore, horrible domestic abuse stories at the beginning of this book before we ever get to his Hollywood story.
Gotcha.
But you have to read that stuff to understand the influences of things later on. And he talks about writing on Ghostbusters, which I didn't learn about that until I had known who J. Michael was from like Babylon 5 and of course his run on Amazing Spider-Man. And then it wasn't until those Time Warner, Time Life video, whatever they were called, that box set that came out, that he's on like a ton of the episodes talking about, camera and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, I know him from Amazing Spider-Man and Babylon 5. That's so cool.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, and he's been involved in a lot of stuff that that people don't. He's had his hands in a lot of projects.
Right. But yeah, real Ghostbusters. Oh man, I hold that up. I hold that above Ghostbusters 2, above a lot of the extra media that's come out for Ghostbusters. I just think those were literally like really rich stories and history, and man, did that influence me as a horror kid. Because my parents were not going to let me watch Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween. And if I did, it was sneaking behind their back to watch it. It was they went out for the day. I have access to the cable box because my father had to have HBO and cable. And
right.
What was that? What's Fright Night Part 2? Sure, I'll watch that. What's Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday? Oh, absolutely. But the real Ghostbusters was like all of the stuff from like the novel that, I didn't even know about until I was an adult, that they took from to world build about Ghostbusters. And and just looking through the images in this book of whatever the influences artists have, they obviously were, every one of these is a horror kid in some way, because I've been on the Instagram for a lot of these artists, and you look at a lot of their other work, and there is some amazingly beautiful, twisted, and gorgeous stuff that these artists have done. I mean,
Sure.
the list is pages long. Some of the names I can't pronounce off the top of my head, but like David Earhart, Paul Davis Harrison, Jason Queen, Hu Trong, Simon Wyatt, John Urkaba. When contacting these artists, is it a casting call put out, or is it picking from the file from previous work?
Yeah, we have a database of artists that we go out to with an email blast, essentially just telling them about the new project, the parameters of the project, and then we just basically say, because this goes out cold to, at this point we're over 1,400 artists on our database, and we just go out and say, hey, this is our next project. If you're interested, let us know. And if they reach out back to us to tell us they are interested, then we send them all the parameters for that particular project. What the deal is, the size of the artwork, the deadline for the artwork, all that kind of stuff. And we go from there. We usually try and give a certain amount of time for artists to create a new piece. Some guys are busier than others, and in a lot of cases, guys will say, at the end of the day, you get an email saying, hey, we're doing a book on this. Are you interested? Oh, hell yeah, we're interested. Yeah, send back, immediately respond. Yes, I'm interested. Send me the information. Fast forward to 3 months and the deadline is here and they're like, oh, crap, I've been so busy. I just totally forgot about it. It happens, we kind of have now, after doing 4 or 5 of these books, we kind of have, I don't want to say an algorithm, but we know that if we get,
what you're doing, basically.
Well, we know that if 500 people tell us yes, they're going to be in the book, we know approximately how many pieces we're going to get back.
Right.
Because we know that there's a percentage that are either going to forget, or they're going to get busy, or something comes up, something happens, whatever, life happens. And so, we know that not all 500 people are going to produce pieces for the book. We know it's going to be 325 or something like that.
What are some of the obstacles that you had to overcome with the first book that you're just like now going, this is easy, we know what to do?
Well, when we created the Thing book, we didn't have a database. We spent weeks emailing artists, trolling through cons, artist alleys at conventions.
Trolling through cons. I like that.
Just trolling up and down the aisles,
But positive trolling, people. There's negative trolling and positive trolling. Positive trolling is respecting your artists.
100% correct. And we would just walk up and down the aisles, and we'd see someone. We had a PDF, and we also had a printed page that had all the information about it. And we'd walk up to either artists we didn't have contact information for, or if we had a guy whose work we really liked and were thought they might be interested in doing a piece for the book, we just did it. There was a lot of ground pounding with that, and with the building of our database, that aspect is much easier now. Also, we've put out 4 books, and we're kind of a known quantity at this point. So if people say, oh, these guys are coming to us and they want us to do a piece for them, well, what kind of books do they do? They can pretty quickly find out what kind of books we do. We're pretty well sort of insinuated in the art, this sort of like artist world now, that you're only probably 2 or 3 steps away from someone who has either submitted a piece or had a piece printed in one of our books. So it's easy to kind of reach out and say, hey, how are these guys to work for? And, or, are these guys legit? Do they actually say what they, do what they say? And, so it is somewhat easier for us to get artists from that standpoint. But it also, it's always still a certain amount of work to actually get the project done and get it out the door, design wise and production wise. And with Ghostbusters and Stranger Things, we were working with two heavy hitter publishers who have those processes already in place. So it's really just a matter of us going through them to the licensor and getting all those approvals, and that also becomes sort of not difficult but challenging, because those deals were it's hard to go through that process without being able to talk to the actual licensor ourselves. A lot of times we'll send something in, whether it's page layouts or we'll send them a PDF or a link to a Dropbox with 200 pieces of artwork in it and say, hey, this needs to go to Sony for approvals. And then they hit us back 2 or 3 days later with, oh, well, we don't think that these images are quite, up to the quality level, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, so is this coming from you or is this coming from Sony? And they're like, oh, we're getting ready to send this off to Sony. And I'm just like, all right, well, I really prefer Sony to see everything than, because I understand why you guys may not think that it's of the correct quality to be in the book. I think that decision needs to come from Sony. So I we've had those kind of conversations with our co-publishers in the past, where they're listen, and this isn't a detraction on what they do. They've by and far been good to work with.
That's good. Because I don't always hear the greatest things about Sony, but I'm glad you say that.
Well, I think that Random House was a little easier to work with, just because Random House is massive, and they've probably run across every sort of publishing snafu that anyone has ever come across in the 100 and some years that they've been around.
Professional word to use, snafu, yes.
Yes, and I think that working with companies like Titan and Insight, while they've certainly done plenty of work themselves, I think that they're more used to putting the projects together themselves. And so when dealing with someone like us, who is essentially just delivering a finished product, like we're not going to use their design team. We're not going to use their book designers and their graphic designers and all that. We're doing all that ourselves. And we're basically delivering them a file that they can set off to the printer. That's it. End of story. Mm-hmm. So, we're not using any of their internal assets or any of their internal systems other than the printing and distribution of the book. And obviously they hold the license with the licensor. That was kind of the deal with Stranger Things, Ghostbusters, and our upcoming Firefly book.
Oh, the Firefly, the TV series.
Yes.
Joss Whedon's.
Yeah, we have a book for Firefly coming out in September from Titan Books.
I guess you can call it Joss Whedon's second baby, because he's always going to be best known for Firefly and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Pretty much.
The two things he basically can control and do stuff with, because he doesn't own the Avengers.
That's very true.
Because let's face it, I don't see a lot of Dollhouse merchandising happening.
Unfortunately, because Dollhouse was a great show. I enjoyed it immensely, but
that's cool that you're going to be doing Firefly. That is awesome, because I think you talked about this in The Thing when you came on for that you didn't want everyone to do the saucer, the dogs. What was the most iconic thing of The Thing that everyone was sending an artwork for that you were like, stop, I need you to draw this, not that, because we have 300 of these.
We never had that problem. I had an artist for the Thing book ask me, when we were soliciting artists for that book, I had him say, how do you know you're not going to get 100 pictures of the dog?
Right. Okay. That's what it was.
And I said, I fully expect to get 100 pictures of the dog. I might, I'm hoping to get other stuff too, but that's one of the focal points of the movie. And as it turned out, I don't think we got anywhere near 100 pictures of the dog, but if you look through The Thing, much like Ghostbusters, there's 100 different focuses that you can draw from the draw on for those films. If you're not doing an ensemble piece and want to draw focus on one particular scene or one particular sequence or one particular character, you have a whole array of options on what you can do and what you can use as your inspiration. There's just a ton in there to unpack.
Was there any one image from the movie that you didn't get enough of that you wish you had gotten more of?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because, by the way, for anyone who hasn't had the book in front of them, and I want to describe the book as we're going through this interview a little bit more than I have, they start the book at the beginning of the movie, more or less. There's some images, there are some other kind of images, but it pretty much starts at the Ghostbusters forming and the library girl, the library ghost. But I was trying to look through it, and I'm like, I don't see maybe enough of the cab ghost. Slimer's always going to have his own section. Stay Puft will have his own section. Zool. When I was a kid, I called Zool Gozer, the bubble ghost, because I was like, are those bubbles on her costume? I don't get it. What is that? Is that ectoplasm? Are they pimple? What is she covered in? I don't get. Is this like one of those fancy ass art French runways that you see, and you're like, nobody will ever wear that?
Design is what it is.
What was that?
It's a fun piece of costume design. Was what it is.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, okay. So again, yeah. Is there like a piece that you didn't get enough of? And I'm like, I want to say maybe it was Ecto 1. I don't think it's enough love in here, or the fire tower, the firehouse.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, how many pictures, honestly, could you have in here of the building? I mean, it's, somebody does it, photographically, somebody does it cartoon style. I think that, overall, what always amazes me about our projects is I've yet to be put in the situation. I'm the one who goes through, our designer who actually does the physical book design is a full-time designer guy, and so he makes his living doing this. So whatever I can do sort of leading into that to lighten the load on him, I try and do. Obviously when it comes down to the core design, he's going to be handling all that, but when it comes to saying, as far as where stuff is going to go inside the book, I generally handle that myself. So I'll sit down and I literally print out postage stamp sized copies of everything in the book, or everything that's approved, everything that's going to be in the book. And from there, I essentially I lay it all out in front of me, and I just start moving things around until I start developing groups of images that I think go together. Now with The Thing, it was very simple. We just worked our way through the movie. With Stranger Things, it was a little different because we were working off of essentially 2 seasons of a TV show. So there were 2 distinct eras to kind of split into. So instead, we decided to go with more character and sort of situational based sort of chapters. In Ghostbusters, again, I think we probably could have gone through and done it sequentially, but I think that the way the artwork was kind of done and looking upon it as a whole, it made the most sense to sort of, again, go to a more character-based kind of approach to breaking them up into pieces. And you also try to you try to break things down into, a chapter that has, let's say, at least 10 or 12 images in it, because when you get to a chapter that's only got 4 images in it, it's like 2 pages and you're on to the next thing, and you're like, oh, well, okay. So it's like I'd rather take those 4 images and figure out something about them that I can tie them in with another section and sort of have a larger section I'd rather have larger sections than smaller ones, I guess I should say. But with Ghostbusters, I think that these one really broke themselves up. Especially at the beginning. We knew we were going to get. Actually, I think we probably got more Slimer images than I expected. I think, again, I'm looking at this film from the idea that there's so much in the movie to use as inspiration. The fact that so many people would jump to Slimer automatically it didn't really cross my mind, but it should have. It should have been probably obvious, and it probably was obvious to someone else, but just not to me. Um, so, when it comes to the breakdown process, it's really more about just looking at everything we have and seeing how all those pieces can fit together to make something that not only, and then once we have those sections broken down, then it's a matter of putting them in some kind of order. And so then you start looking at, all right, so if I'm working my way through the book, how does this work? How do I feel coming through the book this way and then this way? You don't want to get to you don't want to have it like a dead spot in the book. You don't want to have a spot where where you look at it yourself and okay, maybe this chapter has got more, kind of stronger artists, and then maybe this chapter does. So you don't want to get to a point where people are like, well, look at all the pieces in this chapter are, not really of the same quality as the pieces in this chapter, maybe, or maybe there's a whole bunch of black and white images, and maybe we're, going to throw those together. And there's people like, oh, why is this whole section in black and white? There's a lot of decision making and thought that goes into how the books are laid out. It's not just, let's throw all the ghosts together. So
maybe I missed it on your site, or maybe this was another company. Were you planning on doing an Alien book, or you did one?
No. We have not had the opportunity yet.
Okay, is that something you want to do? And would you focus it on? That's
my single favorite film outside of Platoon. So yes, the opportunity to play in the Alien universe is high on my want list.
Now, would you restrict it to just Alien and Aliens without getting too crazy into 3 and 4 and Prometheus and Covenant and whatever? Or does that make it harder now because Disney owns Aliens and they are they're hit or miss on how you work with them, let's just say? I am a what I prefer to think of as a true Alien fan. Okay, I don't hate any of the films. I thoroughly enjoyed Prometheus. I enjoyed Covenant. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mean that as like a hating of the movies, but also restricting.
I'm just I understand.
Restricting it like you did with Ghostbusters.
Leading off from there.
Yeah.
We've had brief discussions with Fox. There's a number of publishing licenses that are already held across the Alien universe. So finding the correct publisher to work with on a project can be a little trickier for us. It's going to come down to, I think it'll eventually come down to a situation where if we can find a publisher that already holds an Alien license and,
like Dark Horse.
Well, now Dark Horse holds the publishing license for all the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and again, I don't know that any of these companies hold licenses that cover what we do as compared with, say, a book about the making of the movie. Titan puts out a lot of Alien product, but theirs is mostly movie based. I know that they've got an Alien 40 for 40 book that's coming out that they actually worked with a lot of the same artists that we normally work with. That was supposed to be out last year, and it's just, I think, a little late now. But it's a situation where if we can find a company that's got an Alien license or an Aliens license or however it breaks out, and they want us to do a project for them, then we're of course wide open to that prospect. So those kinds of talks are ongoing all the time. Besides the fact of ones where we ourselves we're on the verge of signing our first license ourselves for a new project. So that'll hopefully be announced soon. That will, for a book that we're going to do, we're going to hold the license ourselves. So we'll be doing the sort of approvals process directly with the licensor. So we won't be going through a publisher. The publisher will look at the finished product once we're done with it, and decide if they want to distribute it for us at that point, So, we'll kind of work those kinks out. It's going to be a new process for us. So we'll work those kinks out as we get to them.
This Ghostbuster book is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it just makes me want to like rewatch the movie over and over again, with every page that I turn or whatever, to just compare it to like the artwork in the book itself. I honestly sometimes feel as though there is definitely not enough love for Ghostbusters as there should be along the lines of, let's say, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is so new. I mean, it's only like 10, 11 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And Star Wars. And that may be because there aren't as many films. There's not enough media. You know what I mean? Thank God we had a 140 episode cartoon series followed by a 39 episode sequel in its own little universe. And we've had countless comic books. You know, like a couple good games, like one really good game. The rest are,
Right.
you know, I'm sorry. The original games are not very good and easy, are fun to play. They're limited to what they have for technology. But you have that one amazing game that came out in 2009 and re-released recently for the PlayStation 4. I definitely think Ghostbusters just it's not up there because of the limited amount of media we have. And yes, there is a ton of merchandise, thankfully. But I just always felt Ghostbusters is never thrown up there with the Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe or even Harry Potter. But again, Harry Potter has 8, 10 films now.
Well, that, and you're talking about the fact that these franchises are grossing, you're talking in Marvel's case, $11 billion.
Yeah.
You're talking about 3 films in the Ghostbusters universe, which grossed overall, what, $500,000 all sold?
Right, and there's only one film that everyone can say they love. The other 2 are constantly divisive. Whereas most of the Marvel movies people love. Yes, the Star Wars movies are divisive, but you have 3 films that everybody loves, and you have 6 films that are all over the place. The Harry Potter movies, you have 7 films that everybody loves, and now 2 prequels that people are like, ah.
And I think that our cinematic world and our world is there's only room for so many of these sort of mega franchises. I think that Ghostbusters, the fact that 30 or 35 years after the fact, still has new product coming out for it. Yes, obviously it helps that there's a new film coming out to tie in with. But, I don't really feel that in any way in that 35 years, even if Jason Reitman hadn't decided to make a third film, a direct sequel, I don't think that the Ghostbusters world and fandom would really have been adversely affected. I think that is one of the stronger fandoms that's franchise specific, and as you pointed out, based on something that has very little original material. As many books and as tchotchkes you see come out with Firefly's product, you don't get I don't remember who made them, but it was at Funko that did the Firefly figures a few years ago, or it may have been McFarlane. I'm not sure, but it's Ghostbusters is still around, and it's Lego ended up totally ripping off the idea of Ghostbusters when they put out that series of I can't remember what it's called, like. They put out a line of like Mystery something or other, or Mystery Gang or something like that.
Oh,
you seen
right.
those?
Yeah.
With
They're
the
still in
ghosts,
stores.
and they have like the little viewer, and you can use augmented reality with your cell phone over the figures and over the play sets.
Yeah.
And it'll bring ghosts out of them and stuff. I think it's a brilliant idea, but there's no way that thing ever would have happened with not for Ghostbusters.
Same thing for the longest running. Now it is considered the longest running American. And I don't know if this still beats international fame because like Red Dwarf and Doctor Who have been canceled and restarted. Longest running genre television show, Supernatural, owes so much to Ghostbusters. I mean, for God's sakes, in one episode, Dean answers the phone, Ghostbusters. And the Ghostbuster jokes they've made the entire time. They're 2 brothers. They hunt ghosts. They bust ghosts. They don't trap them. They kill them. They're paranormal investigators. There's constant Ghostbuster jokes made on the show. But Supernatural, 15 seasons owes it to, this film.
Sure.
where can people go to find more information about the book? Now, pause real quick. I gotta word it like this, and you can't say go here to buy it. My station manager has been very on top of me about like, don't tell people to go to websites and buy it. The FCC is gonna fuck us up and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god, you have got to get out of my ass.
Can I just say like available at?
You can say. No, he gets pissy. I'm worried he'll get pissy about that. I would just direct people to social media.
I'm trying to think where we have links up.
I'm assuming Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, I don't, because we're technically, I mean, we produce the book and we push it out over social media, but the thing is we don't necessarily.
I think you can also. I think you can say you can at least go to the website to find out more information.
Yeah, I mean. We can definitely do that.
Just can't use the word buy it here. Don't give away the price. You know what I mean? That's the thing that he's been on top of me about.
That's funny. But that's all just, isn't that all just facts?
I don't know, man. He is a pain in the ass. He has really been, it's been worse this year with him. And this is before even quarantine, because somebody came on the show and just like, I'm like, it's free. It was like a movie on Amazon. He's like, it doesn't matter. You can't tell people to go to Amazon to watch it for free. I'm like, why not? And he's just like, do I have to send you the FCC's guidelines? I'm like, it's free.
Apparently you do. I guess technically it's free promotion, because I mean, if you're going to Amazon to watch this thing, you're clearly going to see advertising from, paid advertising from other places. But,
right. I don't know. Yeah. So again, I would just word it as like, if you want more information about the book, go to printedinblood.com.
That's going to be the best way probably to go.
All of the artists' names are listed in the back of the book if you want to learn more about the artists.
Yeah.
All right. So pause real quick.
Something we actually did for, it reminds me of something. I think I'm make a note for myself real quick.
That's okay.
Something we actually did for the Stranger Things book. Someone had asked about a list of the artists, and I'm like, well, it's in the back of the book. And I'm like, and they're like, yeah, but, is there some place where, they wanted a list digitally, I guess, and they didn't want to sit there, I guess, and type it all out themselves, which really isn't my problem. But I know we ended up, I think, for the Stranger Things book, we actually published a list of all the artist names who were contained in the book on our blog. So I think that maybe I'll do that for Ghostbusters as well.
Oh, hey, speaking of artists, I had no idea about this. Al Jaffe has retired officially at the age of 99. I had no idea he was still drawing.
Absolutely.
Wow, that is a career.
And good for him. Yeah, no kidding, right?
Just hope he has time for his retirement, because 99. Yikes! That's like saying that's be like if Betty White tomorrow says I'm retiring, and then it's like,
well, you know what? It's I'm sure his retirement, his quote unquote retirement at 99 is not going to look a whole lot different from his working life at 98. Other than the fact that maybe he's not actually producing work on any sort of regular basis.
Gotcha.
That would be my guess. If you're going to say he's not like, yep, never picking up a pencil again. Yeah, my guess is that's probably not the case.
All right, pause real quick so I know to edit all this out when I took the break, and then we will then I will give you your exit my blurb. And Steve, where can people go to get information about the book?
So you can just go to our website, printedinblood.com. It's probably the best way. There are links there to follow for getting information on any of our publications.
Including Firefly coming up, which is going to be next year maybe?
No, that's due out September. I don't want to say the day because I don't sure, but
right.
I think it's,
a lot of things.
I think
still
it's September 25th, but it's somewhere in September.
Cool, awesome. Hopefully, it still stays in September. A lot of things are still in motion. Things are opening up again. At the time that we're recording this, some good news, and hopefully, if you're not aware of it, local comic book stores have begun opening up again, which is really good news for the independent book market. So. Yeah. Again, Steve, thank you so much for coming back on the show to talk about Ghostbusters Art Book.
You're very welcome, Chris. I'm happy to do it, and happy to come back whenever you want.
Stay safe and healthy in your however long you're left in quarantine.
Thank you very much. You too.